Hey bonsai peeps, just want to do a quick walkthrough real quick. So I rearranged the seating chart, lack of a better term. I had that rack there and this rack out here where it was getting full sun, and you know it's mid-July now, so I just moved everything around last night so it gets a little bit more shade, especially in the afternoon over there. So just a quick walkthrough of the trees. Raspberry bush, not much to talk about there. Blueberry bush, not much to talk about there. There's actually a bird that keeps coming and stealing all the berries off of both, so I don't know why I even have them. Silver maple, had this now for about 3 years. Done some other videos on it. In fact, this was the first bonsai tree I ever tried to do a repot on. It was horrendous. I have the video of it. I'm just too embarrassed to post it because I was a noob. But that's the silver maple. I just did a kind of a defoliation there, you can see, with all of these little stubs. This is my favorite tree. Had it for many years, going on 9 or 10 years now. It's a shantung maple, or an acer truncatum. So just a little look here. This thing has been through a lot. It's been transplanted several times. I'll do a separate video just on this tree later, but that's a look at it for now. I always thought this feature was kind of cool, where it's you can see the main trunk, and then here it almost died one year after one of the transplants. You see I had to cut it off right there, but new growth happened. It just sort of like popped out of here like a sleeve or something. So that's kind of a weird, neat feature. Here's the Siberian elm. I've done a couple of videos on it now. And it's just chugging along like a champ. It's a lilac bush. Not much to it really. It's just a lilac bush. I got it on clearance, I think, one time, and just seeing what can be done with it. So far, it does not respond well to pruning. I pruned it, I don't know, 2 months ago or so, just to try to encourage some back budding. Did not work. It basically just stopped. It just stopped everything. So, note to self, lilacs do not like being pruned. Here's another silver maple. Got some crazy, gnarly looking Nabari roots there. Had to do a little bit of work on it. It had a branch coming out there that I let go too long. But I've always liked this one. I've had it about 3 years. It's got some cool movement to it. Just a little look at it here. Same thing, did a defoliation on it. At some point, I'm probably going to have to do a little bit of a chop, shorten it down a little, but we got time to go. It's still young. All these are, for the most part, are pretty young. This is a Virginia creeper vine. It's just a clipping, and these things just grow like crazy, so I thought it'd be fun to just play around with it. I don't know what can be done with it. I do know they can be made into bonsai, but you know, as skinny as that is, we're talking several years, so I'm just playing with it for now. Here's a wisteria. Also very small and skinny for now. Honestly, I don't know much about wisterias, and as I look at the way these things grow, I mean, they just grow in every which direction, so I'm kind of figuring out the right ways to prune them, and I'm just not really messing with it much, just letting it grow. There's a weeping willow. A friend of mine gave me a little cutting last winter. It was probably, let's see. It was about like this last winter. And this is what it grew into in one season. I mean, it's, you know, it always wants to lean over, so I got it sort of propped up with this guy here for now. If I can get it to stay. Back here is, I always forget the name, philadelphus. cannot get my camera to focus much here. Philadelphus. I got it last winter. No idea what's gonna come of it yet. This one's interesting. It's a it's an ash tree. I believe it's a black ash, if I'm not mistaken. Hang on one sec here. Okay, just have to clean off my screen. I've had this for about 5 years, and it just sort of grew and twisted together, and then I started doing a little bit of wiring and whatnot, and it just sort of developed into what it is now. I repotted it a few months ago, and almost lost it. It almost died, but you can see now some of the new growth, so it bounced back. It lives on. And another silver maple. So kind of the same story. I repotted this a couple months ago. It almost died. It came real close to dying, so I got drastic and did a pruning. I clipped all the foliage off, and after I did that, it bounced back. I found that that's actually pretty effective with these maples and a few other trees as well. When they're coming close to dying, sort of a drastic measure, but if you just prune a lot of the foliage off, all the energy from the roots has to go somewhere, so it doesn't go to these leaves that are kind of dying off. It just sprouts new leaves. That may not always be the case, but I have found it to be the case a lot of time. Here's one of those bay willows. I've done a video on 1 or 2 of them so far, and like I said, I've got a bunch. So I'm just kind of seeing what can be done with them. I forget the actual name of this. I think it's an oak leaf sumac. That's what it's called, I believe. Otherwise known as a skunk shrub or something like that. And the reason is that it stinks really bad when you do a cut. But they kind of look cool and weird. And I don't know. Another bay leaf willow. It's kind of hard to make out everything right now because it's all squished together. I haven't really fine-tuned the placement of everything yet. Silver maple. This is one that it's always been my experimental tree. You can see I've done some cuts on it. For a while I was doing this clip and grow thing where I was growing it straight out this way and then straight up and straight. And I realized that was kind of dumb, so just went back to square one, letting it grow for now. And we'll see. Not sure what to do with it yet. I suck at flowers. Cotoneaster. I did a video on this one recently. Back here I call this propagation station. So all my cuttings and clippings and whatnot go back here. I've got all kinds of stuff going on. Ficuses, schlepperas, if I can say it. Couldn't even tell you what else, don't even know. Got some mystery maples, some oaks. Trying to propagate these shantung maples, having a heck of a time. So we're just seeing what happens there. Nothing too exciting. Lace leaf Japanese maple. I really need to repot this. Been in there for 2 years now. Another, you guessed it, silver maple. But I always liked the movement of it. I forget what these things are called, but they're kind of like Christmas plants. You see them at big box stores around Christmas time. I've had it for a year or 2 now, and it's not done a whole lot. This here is about the most growth I've seen, so who knows. This is my first successful air layer. I hope I didn't just jinx it by saying that, but so far it's gone well. This is off of a clematis tree, I think it's called. I've got it out front. I'll do some pictures on it and show where it came from, but yeah, high hopes for this guy. We'll see. Another cotoneaster here. bay leaf willow back there. This, I believe, is called a katsura Japanese maple. I learned my lesson about taking the wiring off on time, because you can see, let's see here, see some scarring right there. I can get to focus. Of course not. Yeah, so got some scarring there, but it's doing okay. I've always liked it. This is the forsythia. So kind of a cool tree. I defoliated it because it was kind of looking like it needed it. It was doing real good, and then some of the moss that I had around here turned black and kind of moldy, and it started to actually kill the plant. So I freaked out, got rid of it, kind of flushed it all out real well, defoliated it, and now you can see some new growth and it's bouncing back. So, but after that, I went through all of them, because I get all the moss from the side of my house around there, and so I started noticing a little bit of black mold on all of it. So, note to self, if you put moss on a tree and keep the trees outside and water them a lot, it turns moldy. Who knew? Silver maple. I like the movement on this. Kind of goes up, loops around, and turns into this. You know, it's not big with a big thick trunk, but I don't really care. I mean, they're not all going to be show quality. Some of them you just like. That's that one. Back here is a red maple. This thing is 5 years old. You wouldn't think so from looking at this tiny, skinny little trunk. As stated before, I'm a bad cameraman. So look how skinny that trunk is. 5 years old. This is just a weird little red maple tree. This is probably the fullest and most healthy I've ever seen it, because it always wants to look like it's going to die every year. So yeah, anyways, I like it. This is a sand cherry, western sand cherry, or aka Butte's western sand cherry. So this is the second one that I've had, and it almost died too. So I've had some real close calls this year, but you can see some new growth here, and you can see it's starting to bounce back. This is another western sand cherry. This was the first one that I did last year, I believe, and it really looked like it was going to die. So here's what happened. I learned my lesson the hard way here. I kept it indoors, and so it started to leaf out really early in like January. I wasn't sure what to do, so I just let it go. It fully leafed out early spring, put it outside, and it kind of went into shock, you know, as trees do. So in fact, it's the same thing that happened to this katsura. So I need to be more careful, not let these things bud out early if possible, because either that or just ease them outside more gently than I did this year, because it can actually kill them, and it almost did. So yeah. Bay willow. You can see this year I've got lots of bay willows and lots of silver maples. There's another Virginia creeper, just for fun. Kind of hard to see what's going on in there. Another bay willow. These things are they just grow like crazy. Here's a much bigger cotoneaster. So this thing's gonna need some work done on it this winter, but funny story on this, I thought it was dead. It didn't leaf out or bud out or anything until real late, and I just stopped watering it and kind of didn't think about it. In fact, I had it inside and just kept it in the corner over there. And then one day, out of nowhere, I noticed it had buds, and I went, oh, this thing is alive after all the neglect and everything. So yeah, that's a story on that, and you can see it's doing well now. Got an azalea. I don't know much about it yet. It's my first year with it. More propagation station here. willows, mystery maples, katsura maples, silver, or Siberian elm, mystery maples, oaks, willows, nothing too great. Ficus benjamina. So, wanted to experiment. So, this one I've had for a while, and I just wanted to bring it outside and just let it grow. Just let it grow crazy. And that's what it's doing. So, this started as a cutting about this size, believe it or not. Just a little cutting a year or so ago. Well, wait, let me think. Yeah, about less than a year ago. So in less than a year, it went from a cutting that size to this. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with it yet. I think I'll just kind of let it go. Same story here. This one is same story. I just brought them outside, wanted to let them grow in full sun. So, oh, I'll tell you something else I'm growing right there. Growing some kids. Look at that. Watch this. Look at that. Growing some wild children there. You just got to feed and water them every day. They get really, really cranky if you don't feed and water them regularly.
Starving.
Anyways, that's it. That's my update on the bonsais. It is July 19th, 2018. Bye.